Hey everyone, good evening. This video is intended to be black. I'm outside recording and I can't do it inside because I got my people in their sleep and everything. So I'm going to take up the space where I normally record. So I'm having to do it outside. But anyway, I want to get on here and talk about how rejection was the best thing that ever happened to me. So, my name is LaShonda. Welcome to the channel. I pray that this word blesses someone. But I wanted to get in and talk about rejection because that is something that I dealt with growing up. I believe it is one of the reasons that God has called me for a specific purpose. And a lot of people have been called for that specific reason because they were rejected. So let's talk about rejection. Okay, so I was led to this video a couple of nights ago, and it was 2 hours long. I did a video on it. It was on the testimony of a woman who used to be a Delta, and she was talking about the rituals, the humiliation, and everything they had to go through just to become a Delta, and the spiritual implications of that. So this video was 2 hours long, and I was just stuck on it. Like, I was stuck on it. It was by Abednego Lufile, and it just had me captivated. It was 2 hours long, so I had to listen to it again, like listen to the rest of it the next morning. But it got me to thinking, because I know that, God does nothing. He does everything on purpose, right? Everything is done for a reason. My motto in life is everything happens for a reason. So nothing to me is coincidence, right? So the fact that I was stuck on this video and I watched the entire thing meant that God led me to it. So I started thinking, and remember, I'm talking about rejection. Okay, so I grew up without a father in my life. My father that I found out when I was around 21, was around. I just did not know him as my father. So when I found out that when I believed he was my father, because it was always talk that he was my father, but his family never treated me like I was his daughter. He didn't really treat me like I was his daughter until I finally accepted the fact that he was my father, right? He was around when I was younger, and I had a kind of a rough childhood growing up, right? I went through some things as a child. I went through abuse as a child. I witnessed abuse as a child. So along with being bullied, and so I dealt with a lot of rejection growing up. And it wasn't a lot of rejection, really. It was really just the rejection of my father, because every girl needs a father in their life. Even every boy needs a father too, but girls need a father as well, because it really shows them what a man is supposed to do to take care of the woman in his life, right? But I didn't grow up seeing that, nor did I get to experience that. So that caused me to make bad choices in men, right? And that was all tied to the fact that I did not have my father actively in my life. So when I found out that he was my father and I accepted it and we started talking, I just had questions for him, mainly about the family. I was going to get into the deep stuff later on, but I just wanted to talk about the family history, because you want to know what's going on in your family, right? The things that run through your family as far as illnesses, sicknesses, etc. And he did deal with bipolarism. So he told me, he didn't tell me that in so many words. He just said that, he was sick or whatever. He would never go into detail about the sick he was referring to. So I never really got to have that extra conversation with him, like go into those deeper conversations with him, because he committed suicide. So I never really got to have the conversations I wanted to have with him. So when I heard this video, it got me to thinking, because I knew growing up that he had pledged Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. He had like the letters in his room, I think he had a big poster on his wall. But yeah, he was an alpha. I don't know if that was something that ran through our bloodline as far as like my granddad or my great granddad. I don't know. I don't know if on my auntie, my daddy's side, on the sister side, I don't know if they were like AKA. I don't know any of that. But I just know that he was an alpha. So after hearing this video and talking about how in the fraternities and sororities they basically are coming to a covenant with another god, with a false god, with the devil, and they also come into agreement that it will pass down, two and three generations after them. That's the part that stuck with me. And we do know that as parents that the things that we do affect our children, right? And sometimes these are things that we do unknowingly, right? You do things unknowingly that affect your children. And I believe that this was something he did unknowingly, right? But nonetheless, he made a covenant with the devil to give the devil rights to generations all the way down to the third generation, which included me, because I'm the oldest, and it included my children, right, all the way down to his great-grandchildren. So I thought about the stuff that I had to go through in life, and this stuff that happened to me, y'all, it's not something that was my fault, right? And when you truly have a call in your life, like, there are things that happen to you when you're younger that don't normally happen to other people, right? You go through a lot when you're younger. And for me, that was abuse. But for somebody else, for example, like for my oldest child, it was sickness. He was sick from about maybe 9 months all the way to 2 years old. Even after that, he still remained sick for like the next 10 years, off and on. But the things that happened to me, like, they were meant to destroy me, to kill my spirit, to break my spirit, to cause me to stumble later on in life, to basically get me to come into agreement with the devil. And it was only by the grace of God and him having his hand on me and protecting me as a child that I got through it, right? But I wanted to get in here and talk about the rejection. Okay, the rejection is what saved me. The rejection is what saved not only me, but now that I have come into knowledge, it has saved my generations that come after me. When I had my experience with God, he told me that it was a generational curse from my father that I was dealing with. And it was specific. He let me know it was from my father. And I thought it was something different until I heard this video, because he didn't say it was because he pledged a fraternity. He didn't say that. He just said it was generational curse from my father. And the more I learned about the fraternity, the more I learned that him pledging was the sin which created the curse, the generational curse that passed down his bloodline. So when he told me that, I had to pray with my grandmother, who was a minister, and we had to pray against soul ties. Okay, and I'm not going to go into detail about how soul ties are created. Just do your own research, because this video is really It's very personal, and there will be some people that may listen to it that know me, that know the person I'm talking about, and I don't want to go into detail about it. But just for yourself, look up soul ties, okay? But I had to pray against soul ties. She had to pray with me against soul ties. And basically, when you're praying against soul ties, you're cutting off that connection. Okay, you're cutting that connection off completely from your life. So for me, I had to cut off the connection to my father, and in the process, I cut the connection off to the entire family. They never accepted me anyway, and I didn't mind doing that. So I say this to say that the enemy had a plan. Like just like God knows your life, He knows what you're gonna go through. He knows what you're gonna end up being and doing, and He knows what it's gonna take for you to come over to Him and completely surrender to Him. He knows the day, the time, the second, probably the minute when you're going to surrender, right? The enemy also knows the plans that God has for your life. But he really thought that he had complete access to me because of what my father did. Now, had I known that he was my father growing up, had we had a real relationship, I would have probably ended up pledging a sorority, just like he pledged a fraternity. I would have had a relationship with the entire family. I would have been connected. I would have been connected. Because my dad was very successful. I don't know what he did. I don't know. I have no clue what he done. But I just know that he on the outside, he appeared to be successful. Right? So, I'm pretty sure that I would have been just as successful. But the fact that I did not have the relationship with him, the fact that I was rejected by not only him, but also by the family, that was a blessing. That was a blessing. Because what I did was cut off that generational curse that was supposed to keep continuing down my bloodline. Because I did not pledge a sorority. I cut off that connection that he had come into agreement with the devil when he pledged Alpha Phi Alpha, that he agreed to let it affect not only me, but his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren. I cut that off. I canceled that contract in the name of Jesus. So the rejection was the best thing that ever happened to me. Okay, so just like God had my plans already in place for my life, the enemy thought that he had plans for my life as well, but I was divinely protected by God my entire life. Okay, there are some things I can't remember about my life due to what I went through as a child. That's also a blessing, right? That's something God don't want me to remember. But the fact that I was rejected was what I believe really caused me to be called by God for a specific purpose, right? He accepted me, and that was the only acceptance I needed. Even though I tried to fill it with other things, right? I tried to be accepted by people, by men normally, just really men. I really tried to be accepted by men my entire life, and I was rejected in pretty much every relationship that I was ever in until I met my husband. So he was the first man that I ever met that did not cheat on me, did not make me feel like I was less than. He did not, put me on this higher standard that he required of me. None of that. He accepted me for who I was. And I've been with him now for, what, 14? Yeah, almost 14 years. But the rejection was really what saved my life. The fact that I was rejected by so many people in my life opened the door for God to come in and make me feel fully accepted, right? No matter what I went through in life. So the rejection was a blessing. Okay, so a lot of people, when they're rejected, they feel like they have done something wrong. They feel like they're not good enough. It causes you to have low self-esteem, which I went through that. I had low self-esteem. Again, because I wasn't good enough for anybody in a relationship. I felt like I wasn't good enough for my father to be in my life, even though he was the same father to my brother. Okay, he never made me feel like I was his daughter, as I watched him be a father to my brother. Okay, so I was being rejected right in my face. You understand? But it causes you to have low self-esteem. You don't value yourself. You don't value life. Sometimes you don't value other people's life either, because you don't even yourself feel valued. So you don't have any value for anybody else's life. But I go on to say that if you feel rejected, don't look at it as you're not good enough. Okay? Don't look at it as you're not good enough. Look at it as they're not good enough for you. Okay? They're not good enough for you to be in their life. Right? Not that you're better than them. Don't look at it like you're better than them. But just look at the fact that they're not meant to be in your life. And it's for a reason. Like, everything is done for a reason, right? Because like I said, had I been accepted by my father, had I been accepted to the family, I would have followed the same path that they did, right? And the thing about the fraternities and sororities that people don't understand, like when you're coming into agreement with the devil, right? And you're giving your rights, you're giving your enemy the right to your bloodline, is what you're doing. You're giving him the right to your bloodline, the people that come after you, right? That is a curse. And there is a history, there's a pattern of this, that there are many people that have families that have dedicated their life to these sororities, to these fraternities. They die early. They die early in life. Okay? They become barren. They can't have children. If they have children, their children are messed up. They go through things. Right? You may get married, but your husband is a serial cheater. He cheats on you, or he's abusing you physically. Right? There's something in these bloodlines, because it may go great for a long time, because the enemy will make you think. The enemy blesses you as well. Don't get it twisted. The enemy will bless you too. Okay? The enemy will bless you too. And there are many people that are in fraternities and sororities that have a great life. They're very successful. They have nice houses, nice cars, nice jobs. But that comes with a price. And there will be a moment in time where the enemy is going to step up and say, it's time for you to pay me back for what I gave you. And sometimes that payback comes in the form of your children. It comes in the form of your health. It will come in the form of your life. Okay? So, I want to get in here to say that when you sign those, when they come into agreement with those covenants and they let it affect their children, like I said, it could be health-wise, It could be like through their children going through things or going through sicknesses, going through illnesses. And on my father's side, this is just, to my knowledge. And this is why I'm so happy. When I talked to my dad and I asked him the stuff that went through our family, right, he would run these things off, right? And I would wonder, because then you wonder, like, what side of the family, like, which traits do you pick from, which traits did you get from what side of the family, right? Because what if cancer runs through, for example, your mother's side, right? Are you worried about if you're going to get cancer in the future, right? Or what if something like, I don't know, heart disease runs in your bloodline, and you're worried about if you're going to get heart disease because your family has heart disease on your daddy's side, right? So we talked about stuff like that. And I always wondered which side I was on. Because on my dad's side, the people died early. Earlier than they should. Right? And I always was like, I don't want to be on that side of the family. Right? I don't want to be on that side. I don't want to pick up those traits. Right? So when I say that I cut off the entire family, I cut off the entire family. I want no parts of anything on that side of the family, because to be honest, none of it has ever been beneficial to me. So sometimes rejection is a blessing. Don't look at it as a negative thing. Don't look at it as something that's negative, because sometimes a rejection is the best thing that could ever happen to you. Rejection is the best thing that can ever happen to your children. For those of you that have kids whose fathers didn't accept them. Right? That's the best thing that could ever happen to your child. Because remember, God don't make no mistakes. He does everything for a reason. And it wasn't just that my father rejected me. It was that God allowed my father to reject me. Because he knew what I was going to become. Right? So if your kids are rejected by their father, so be it. Just know that God has something bigger for their life that don't include their father. Okay? So I just want to get here and say rejection is the best thing that ever happened to me. Rejection will be the best thing that ever happened to you if it already isn't. And if you, again, I mentioned this yesterday, I think, if you are someone that knows that you have family members in your direct bloodline, your mother or your father, that have pledged fraternities or sororities, and you are going through something in life, you need to speak to that curse. Speak to that curse that came from them, because their actions are affecting your life. Okay? But I pray that this word bless somebody. It was just a quick word. It's something I wanted to get out. And I hope it helps somebody. So don't let rejection beat you up. Don't let rejection think that you're a failure. Think that something is wrong with you. Think that something is wrong with your child. The rejection is nothing more than a setup for a come up from God. Okay? But again, I pray you have a blessed night and a glorious night. And thank you for listening. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. And there's probably more I probably should have added to it. But again, I'm recording in my car, so I don't have access to my computer or anything right now. But I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.